Welcome, everybody, to the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. My name is Kurt Larson, and I am joined today by Evan Lewis,
Hello, hello.
Joe Lutovsky,
Ahoy.
and Leo Andre.
Hey.
We recently had some of our members go to Adepticon 2023, and we're going to talk about that. We've actually already talked in a lot of detail, I think, about the AMG panel and their special announcements and stuff. So I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail on that. But I really want to hear about Joe and Evan's experiences at Adepticon, all the fun games they played, stuff you guys saw, all that kind of stuff. Before we go into that, we have to thank our patrons, our wonderful supporters,
patrons.
giving us Imperial credits or whatever Mon Calamari flan
Yeah.
out of their hard-earned dollars to support us. And if you want to be a patron too, you can go to patreon.com/thejodocast, I assume. Or is it
That is correct. You've done it.
And you can contribute and you can listen to us record live and access our special patrons only channel on our Discord. And even if you don't want to be a patron, you can still join the Discord. There's a lot of great chatting and images and news links and all kinds of great content posted all the time, all day, every day.
It is the place to be most informed about any Star Wars gaming news.
Absolutely. If you're the type of person who plays multiple games, then this is the podcast for you, unlike all those others that are only one game at a time.
That's a good point. You could have it all.
Should we do a quick what have you been playing go around? People have been playing stuff, or is that pretty much just going to be a recap of Adepticon anyways?
I mean, for me personally, yeah, most of my gaming was at Adepticon. I tried to game earlier tonight, but it fell through. I'll give that as a what you've been attempting to play. I've been organizing my local north side Indianapolis scene. The south side is perfectly content with lots and lots and lots of miniature wargaming, but the north side is less energetic, I guess, about their miniature wargaming, including Legion. So I tried to get it back going, and this was the first night. No one else showed up, but hey, you know what? I was there. I was ready.
It's tough when no one shows up.
Did people say they were going to show up?
I had several responses because what I did was I messaged my store via Facebook Messenger, and they were like, "Sweet, we'll put it on the schedule. We'll put it up on the Facebook page," and they did. And then I shared that with our local the indie. Garrison is what it's called, our local organized scene for Legion specifically and MCP. And I posted it there. I got responses from both sides, and they tagged me in the store post. And so I had dialogue going, and one guy was like, "Not this week, but next week for sure." And then I had people asking about, is it going to be learning? Is it going to be super competitive? I'm like, we're going to learn. It's going to be fun. I'm still relearning. So I know there's interest. Like, I know folks on the north side want to play some Legion. They don't want to drive to the entire other side of the city to play. So it's gonna happen. It just not tonight. But that's me.
Leo, have you played anything recently?
Yeah. I've been playing Legion. We got a escalation league going in our store right now, so did some of that. I've been actually playing Armada lately too.
Nice.
And I've gotten in I think I've gotten in like 2 games of Armada since the last time we did a What's we've been playing.
That's awesome.
That's more Armada than anybody's played in a long time.
Except for all those people we saw it.
I think he means anybody on this show.
Oh, yes. I thought he meant anybody.
No one in the world is playing Armada except Leo. He's keeping it alive.
It's like those, like when they shut off Xbox Live services to the original Xbox, those people who kept their Halo games running for like months, so that like the service wouldn't be interrupted.
So I think I'm gonna bring my Superstar Destroyer to the next game, so I can finally justify all the money I paid for that thing.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll go quick for me. I haven't played anything recently. I've done a little painting. I painted my Asajj Ventress for Legion. I painted my Frog Lady.
Nice.
Those are both fun, but I haven't played anything. What about you, Joe? Have you played anything since the end of Adepticon? Or have you just been...
Since I got back from Adepticon, I played one game of the deck building game. And
nice.
then I got COVID and didn't do anything.
Aww. Was this your first time?
Survival.
Oh, the game of life. Yeah.
Yes, it was my first time.
Aw.
Which is very strange that I didn't get it at Adepticon.
Yeah, my one time was last year at Adepticon, so wherever you got it, I guess it wasn't with the nerds.
But we're here to talk about Adepticon today.
Yeah, so get hyped, Joe. Get energetic. This is our time.
We want to hear how much fun you had coming through in your voice.
I want to just like redirect every question to go watch the little video I made for our YouTube channel that covers everything I could possibly have to say about Adepticon.
Well, and there is a lot of good content on our YouTube. We released a bunch of videos like mid Adepticon that Evan and Joe were taking. We had the very detailed breakdown of the AMG panel. Again, I think that's a good one for people to watch if you're interested specifically in that. And we had our previous episode,
especially
about
if
what
you're
planning to do. But
that's a good one, especially if you're interested in not listening to anything I have to say.
Oh,
yeah. 3/4 of our thoughts about Shatterpoint announcements and stuff.
It's all just self-insert. Whatever thoughts you have, that's what Leo was saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm there for. That's actually we muted all my audio on purpose so that way the audience could self-insert and be part of the discussion in their heads.
We're breaking new ground in podcasting.
So how long was it in the end? How many days did you guys go to Illinois for?
Let's see here. So there was
Tuesday
I will
to Sunday.
Yes, I was gonna say I'll save Joe's voice for when he actually needs to speak. So we both arrived there on Tuesday. I drove up. He flew in to Midway, and I will just say this: if you have a choice between O'Hare and Midway, and the prices are not too dissimilar, choose O'Hare. Be nice to your friends.
Oh.
Getting to Midway is not just a nice little exit off of the Illinois Tollway. You're going into the city, like you're going downtown practically.
Wow.
To get to an airport in the middle of the city. It's wild.
I thought you were going to say the opposite, actually. I've never been to that one. A lot of people seem to hate O'Hare, so I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, O'Hare is fine and dandy. That's where I've picked up Leo from before. And my roommate from last year, Mr. Sugi. But yes, we were there on Tuesday, so we had Tuesday evening and night to recuperate from travel. And then we had all of the middle day, early and mid Wednesday to sleep in a little bit, get some late breakfast / lunch, otherwise known as brunch. And eventually we made our way to the venue. And I was able to show Joe around a little bit, get to know the lay of the land. It's not nearly as spread out as Gen Con is. Like, Gen Con is wild compared to Adepticon, but as I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later, and we mentioned on our a straight to video uh, discussion of it, Adepticon has a very intense feeling and emotion to it because it is basically one hobby.
It's like all minis games, basically, right?
Yes, it's all minis, and even if you don't play, if you're an artist, if you paint, if like that's your thing in the miniature painting space, you're there too, because it's not just nonstop mini tournaments. There's camaraderie. I mean, it's not just pure competition. You're there to see friends. You're there to spend the whole week painting. And so we got there. We went to the venue on Wednesday, got our badges, stood in line for a long time. Joe told me how great Tron Legacy is. And after that, yeah, that was an important part. And then he got me playing Marvel Snap. That shows you how long we were standing in line. And yeah, so those were the two, like, quote unquote slow days. That was before everything actually kicked off. But we did get to go back to the hotel, and we spent that time playing more card games, because if there's one thing you do at a miniature convention, it's play card games.
Just to mix it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. They're much more relaxing. They require a lot less futzing with terrain and setting everything up. It's just, hey, we got some cards. Let's do this.
And we already have videos on YouTube of Star Wars Picture This and
Yep.
Star Wars Say What You See.
Oh, but the one game we didn't record at all, because it would have crashed every device we would have put it on. We played a bunch of that game that Ghost Galaxy bought from Fantasy Flight that involves forges and various ethers to make ethers to
It's
make
like
an
the Scottish
unlocking
play,
device.
right?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what it is. Thank you. I'm glad someone else knows this. Yes, it is the Scottish play of trading card games. And we had a hell of a lot of fun, although I think Joe had more fun because he had the unstoppable deck. We've always asked about, like, what if one guy has just like the best deck and then another guy just keeps going through decks to try to beat him? Like, well,
people unfamiliar with Ether and the inside joke where we don't say its name, we're talking about the game where you forge keys.
Yes.
Well, isn't there some kind of mechanic where after your deck wins a whole bunch of games, like you're supposed to start nerfing it?
Yes.
They're called chains. We put chains on it.
We did put some chains on it, or we talked about it. We were like, how does this work? Should we just start doing it? Yeah, his deck needed chains. I went through 3 decks. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the common denominator here. Anyways, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that game.
So did you guys just play card games in the hotel all weekend?
Yeah, that's all we did.
Didn't actually have badges, but still wanted to go. So.
We
Like,
just
look in the window.
went to some Courtyard Marriott or whatever in Schaumburg, Illinois. Played card games for the weekend.
That's the place. No, I made Joe get up early 2 days in a row so that we could get good parking. That's the toughest game at Adepticon, is getting good parking.
So it wasn't like at the hotel that you guys were at or anything.
No,
that is correct.
Is the convention place where it is actually attached to any hotel, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty swanky looking hotel.
Yes, it is the Renaissance. I don't recall who runs that one. Is it? Well, I don't have it up in front of me, and I'm not going to spend time looking it up. But the
Might have been a
Renaissance
Hilton.
Schaumburg, yeah, something like that. It's a very nice convention center, and the hotel is basically upstairs from it. The entire bottom and part of the, well, I guess all of the second level, really. So the first level and second level are all convention center slash restaurant, lounge, bar area. And so, yeah, the people who stay there are all on, I guess, third floor on up. So we're not really bugging them when we're being loud from 7 in the morning to 0 dark 30.
Hundreds of tables with dice just rolling on them,
Oh,
constantly echoing through the atrium.
so like there are just, if there's room, there's a table. I don't think that's an exaggeration. If there's room, there's a table. It's either for gaming, or it's for selling stuff, or it's for painting.
Yeah, because I think one of the pictures or videos you guys posted when you guys just did a pickup game of Legion, that was just like in some hallway or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a second floor, basically mezzanine walkway where they had set up a whole bunch of tables, and they're just public use tables. Like, unless they're reserved way ahead of time, you can just use it.
And so there was a giant like AMG room that was like, by the sounds of it, hundreds of Legion Armada X-wing tables taking up a huge room, and then some Games Workshop room that must have been gigantic, or multiple rooms even, I assume, and a bunch of other companies too, right? Like, I wonder how many, literally hundreds of tables, and how many like tons of terrain they had to bring
Yeah.
to get this set up. It's
Yeah,
crazy
the
to think
big
about.
like conference hall, you split it into thirds, and one third was GW and GW type stuff and tournaments, and then the one third was AMG, and then in between those two thirds was all of like the exhibitors, which
Mm.
they like closed off before earlier at like 6, but the events on the each side went until like midnight or something.
So was there a lot to like walk around and look at with these exhibitors and stuff?
Not as much as Gen Con,
Yeah.
and not as much things that like appealed
Well,
to me
yes.
specifically.
Yes, that is a very I was going to say fine distinction, but I don't think it's neither fine nor a broad distinction. It's simply just there's not as much there that is attractive to someone who's not just into everything miniature. You're
Right.
you're you're there for the Star Wars.
The way I think I explained it to Evan is when you walk through Adepticon, like almost everything looks like Warhammer or Conquest or I don't know the names of
Kings of
other
War.
games, Kings of War. It all looks
Mm-hmm.
like it's either Warhammer or
War
fantasy or some
Machine.
sort of
Mm-hmm.
mix of that kind of aesthetic, and it all just kind of blurs together. I'm like, yep, there's another kind of like war man
Heavy metal
machine
war.
war fantasy game. Sure is. That's why I so attracted to that Arena Rex game and that Lunar game, because they like stood out as like very unique from the crowd to me. There was a Western Minis game
Definitely.
that I thought looked bad.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a whole booth that had a super casual Western board game, and then the other game they had was a somewhat more serious, like number crunchy
Yeah, it was.
Western board
I think it
game.
was called Gunfighter's Ball. I
Hmm.
think might have been the name of the board game and the miniatures game. But they both look bad, and all I didn't like the minis. Maybe it's fun. The board game itself looked like someone designed it in their garage, and then the miniatures game, the minis just kind of looked like too retro. Like maybe this is the kind of minis people were painting in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, since we're talking about the stuff on the show floor, we'll just spend a little bit of time talking about that, because there was a segment of miniatures that were clearly, from smaller independent model makers and little studios, that a lot of
That's
them were
nice.
either resin or metal. But Joe is correct in his statement that a lot of them look like how models looked in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm. Kind of lumpier and slightly
Yeah,
Yeah,
cartoonish in a way.
deformed a little.
Very
yeah.
simple poses.
Yeah.
There was some. I mean, there was neat stuff, even for a heathen like me to ogle. You know, a lot of some like dice ones. Some people who had a lot of like custom like 3D printed things. Like I bought a tiny little like red panda mini at one of them.
Well, in fact, I think the Red Panda was the same studio that I bought the a roller derby board game from.
Whoa.
And yeah, and they had resin miniatures instead of, or to have in addition to like their little wooden miniatures for this board game.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm absolutely buying this for my wife because she's in roller derby, so I have to.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool that there's a mix of like indie stuff as well as big stuff, and they can kind of both fit in, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's probably
there's
true of
definitely
any
a lot of.
convention, but still.
Well, they definitely seem like because the two games that I latched onto and spent more time talking to the people who made it, they definitely seem like small studios that probably don't do a lot of sales outside of Adepticon. The one was called Lunar. I posted some pictures on our Discord. If you want to see pictures of it, check out our Adepticon video on YouTube. It's basically
That one
just
looks really cool to me.
I just loved the aesthetic of it. It's just Cold War with on the moon with guns. Like there's nothing like fantasy or sci-fi about it other than take an astronaut and a cosmonaut and give them pistols. Like there's nothing like embellished about the looks or anything. It's just like a boring old astronaut but with a gun. And then it becomes so funny to me. And they had all this lore and stuff, and there's mechanics with like your mass, because he said the one like hand wavy sci-fi thing they do is there's some kind of weapon that it's like some kind of like air blast that pushes the target away but doesn't like have any recoil on the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that affects you depends on your mass. So if you're holding a bunch of moon rocks, because the whole point of the game is just like gathering resources on the moon, but like the Soviets and the Americans and the Chinese, they all want to be the best at gathering the resources on the moon, so they're up there shooting each other.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it plays on like a 2x2, which was very cool too. Just it looked
Oh.
like I'm like, oh, I could probably get like a starter and then never buy anything else for this game, even though they have like rovers and mercenaries and like
The rovers look cool though.
a guy running around with a meat cleaver on the moon.
You just wanted the astronaut with a gun.
Yeah, there's a really cool mini that it's like a guy, extending a pistol, and then he's got an American flag in his other hand. But that was very cool because that stood out because it wasn't like all the other ones. There's just so many things like, is that a
generic fantasy and
a war heresy machine?
That's my favorite
dinosaur.
game. Heresy
I did buy
machine.
something from the game Onslaught, which I hadn't heard of. Not Onslaught.
Onslaught?
Conquest.
D&D Onslaught.
Oh yes, the chicken.
There was a lot of D&D Onslaught there because that game's new. I played that the other day, and it was okay if you don't roll so many ones and 20s.
What did you buy from Onslaught?
The chicken.
No, that okay. I was
no, I did not buy Onslaught. I misspoke and
yes, I knew what you meant. Conquest: Last Argument of Kings.
Oh, it has a dumb name like that? I thought it was just Conquest.
That sounds like a shitty mobile game that you will
Yeah, get
You
a
were-
weird
get
ad for.
spammed ads for.
I know
Uh,
for a fact, Leo, you mentioned this game previously, talking about like it's got good minis, but I don't know if the game's any good.
Not saying anything about the minis. I'm saying the name sounds like a shitty mobile game.
It
It
does.
did have cool
it
mini
does.
of a big old guy riding a T-Rex that had like feathers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. See,
But
that's what I've seen some guys in my store with those T Rexes, and I'm just like, oh, I want a T Rex.
I was tempted to get their convention exclusive mini, which was just two chickens. There was two miniatures of chickens, and they were each like perched on top of a mountain of skulls. And I thought that was fun. The other game that made me like think and go, this is kind of fun, and I did buy a single mini for it, was Arena Rex. Evan and I demoed it. It's just like a gladiator game, but it's in sort of like a mythological
Yeah,
theme where there's just like there's like the Romans and the Greeks and the Africans and the Norse and
Egyptians.
Stuff, and Egyptians, and then it's just like gladiator people, but there's some like mythological creatures and monsters, and the minis just were very cool. And we played a round of the gameplay, and the combat is actually very similar to Shatterpoint, where it has a little combat tree that the more successes you get, the farther down the tree you get to step. So I guess maybe Shatterpoint stole it from Arena Rex. And it was pretty fun, and the gameplay was cool, and the minis were cool, and there's like a naked Greek wrestler guy, which I thought was very funny. It was just like
that's
there's
how
like
they wrestled.
There's like a Leonidas looking guy and some guy riding a huge like upscaled Komodo dragon and a tiger and somebody riding a huge scorpion, and then there's this naked man ready to wrestle.
Sounds like it's gonna go well for him. But I mean,
So
he's
it's
probably
good
a eunuch.
because
Don't worry about it.
it's good because I think Kingdom Death probably has the monopoly on
gosh.
minis with dongs, so someone else has to get in on that game.
At least,
But it was like a
at least these
historically
dongs
accurate
are
dong.
historically accurate. Yes, exactly. I need my
Historically
degree to be
accurate.
worth something, and if it's that, then you know what, I'll take it.
But yeah, that game I liked the minis were very cool. The mythological stuff was neat, and the gameplay was so tight, I guess. It's just
fast.
like it's always
Yeah.
going to be like 3v3 plus or minus a few in a little Coliseum arena, shoving each other around, rolling dice. It was kind of cool. I guess there was like an Indiana Jones looking game too that I guess for whatever reason I wasn't too curious about.
Yeah, I was surprised you weren't more curious about that. It was across the aisle from Arena Rex, and it was basically a early 19th or 20th century, rather, like what you think of pulp adventures. Like that's what it was. It was every pulp style, occult, Nazi, dinosaur, archaeologist thing that you can think of thrown into miniature. And
Could
if
be
you,
kinda cool.
yeah, if you dig that, and I kind of do.
They had a very cool like diorama set up. It looked a lot like the kind of the canyon they're going through at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but there was a lot of like creatures spilling out of tombs and
The Mummy. Yeah. Oh, and also from the same company that did Lunar, which is Black Site Studios, they caught my attention with another 2x2 very gorgeously put together fantasy diorama for their game. I'm sure I'm going to pronounce it wrong because I'm sure it's like Norse or Norwegian or something. Yafsiga, which is
yeah, see that.
yeah, Yafsiga. It's a skirmish miniatures game that is miniatures agnostic. Use whatever guys you have, and here's some stats. Apply them appropriately. and you can do one-off, just 1v1 go, and that's it, done. But it's meant to be campaign style, and there's the story is like semi Arthurian, but with a little bit of um, eldritch horror thrown in. And yeah, like and the cool thing about this is that it doesn't use dice. It uses a deck of poker cards, which I thought Joe would appreciate. So you draw cards from this poker deck, and if your draw, exceeds the value, then hey, you did whatever you tried to do. And if you draw the same suit again, then it's a critical. So just some very cool mechanics with the poker deck. And they
Yeah, that could be
had
kind of interesting. I mean, dice are fun to roll, but yeah, you could. I think if you kind of played off the sort of card counting mechanics, you could probably come up with something really interesting. And like the suits, like you said, be
oh
neat.
yeah, I hadn't even thought about all that. But yes, you're absolutely right. And yes, and I mean it's one book. That's all you need, and it's 2 by 2, just like Lunar. It's even less than a kitchen table sized. If you want to make a 2 by 2 diorama, that's pretty easy to carry around. So I'm very excited. It read very much like a modern take on Mordheim. So
Hmm.
super excited to try to get that going. I instantly thought of Christian, since he's very into whatever indie style or indie takes on whatever people have been doing for the last 30 years are looking like these days. And of course, I spent a lot of time at the Mantic booth for Kings of War,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not exactly GW sized, nor are they even really Atomic Mass backed by Asmodee sized. But
But
they,
one of the bigger ones outside of those biggest ones, at least.
yeah, I would definitely say they are a they are one of the biggest fish in the small pond.
Mm-hmm.
But they are extremely happy to give you all their time, even if you don't buy anything. They're just happy to talk about the thing they love, because the odds are you're going to talk to someone who actually helped build the game, not just a schlub who's
Nice.
there
Yeah.
who's there to sell things to you.
So that all sounds really cool, but I also assume at the end of the day, you probably kind of breeze through and don't really end up coming back to the exhibition stuff, right?
I did about two, like a pass the first day and then a pass the last day, and that was, I mean, plenty. And then I think I maybe like one day, poked in for a very couple specific places, but
Yeah. So the real meat of the convention is really the events, right? So
For Joe.
yeah, I
yeah, I
think
mean, there was a lot of, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different tournaments and things.
I think we got some of your Legion tournament details already, but do you want to give like a kind of a summary?
All right, all right, all right. So round one, I played against Palpatine, Royal Guards, and Dark Troopers, and
And you were playing. What were you playing?
Legion.
Oh, okay.
I'm hanging up on this call.
I was playing against Dark Troopers. My list was Cad Bane, Maul, Magna Guards, some B1s with rocket launchers and snipers. That match was super one-sided. There was a little bit of hope at the beginning because Maul, I moved him up. And okay, next turn I'm going to play Maul's 1-pip. I'll go first. I'll engage the Dark Troopers, and this will, he'll be able to take a couple of them out and tie them up. I play his 1-pip, and then he plays Palpatine's, I believe it's called Give In Your Anger, which basically says, actually, the first activation your opponent does, Palpatine gets to decide who goes. So even though I played Maul's card, Maul couldn't go first, and I had to go with my T-Series tactical droid, which then meant his first go, he'd go with his Dark Troopers, and they'd shoot up Maul, and Maul was dead turn 2, and that was kind of the end of that.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
And then second match, I had a mirror match, sort of. I'm playing against. He had an AAT. It was the Battle Force, so he Separatist Battle Force. He had an AAT, 8B1s, a Magna Guard, and a T Series. That was a very close game. We were playing Breakthrough. It ended up. He made a sort of a misplay, which is why I was able to win. We might have tied, and then he might have. It would have come down to points, but I had Cad Bane in an end zone, and Cad Bane had collected a bounty on his T Series, and I had another droid in the end zone, and he only had one guy in the end zone, and he might have been able to get 2 or 3 if instead of taking the turn to send some guys to melee my Magna Guards, he'd just run somebody, because then I was able to tie up the potential scorers with my Magna Guards, and he couldn't do anything about it after that. So I won that game. And then the last round was against Blizzard Force, 4 bikes, Vader, Snow Troopers, Stormtroopers. That one, okay-ish. Vader ended up slapping up Maul pretty early on and killing him, and then it was a little bit of an uphill battle. I don't think it was like super terrible, but it started to fall apart in the back half. Cad Bane somehow survived a million attacks when he shouldn't have, because with Maul gone and we were doing, I needed to take a risk and extend him to try and get the bounty point, and then the risk mostly paid off when somehow he just wouldn't die, even though I overexposed him, and then he ended up dying in like the last round or something. But it ended up not being close by the end of it. But it was still, at least it was a fun and interesting game, unlike the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my tournament. 2 matches against super medalists that went about how I expect those to go, and one against droids that was pretty close, but I won. And that was fine, because that meant I got to relax on Saturday, because I was like, oh, well, if I do good, I got to play on Saturday. It was the Worlds was on Friday, and then day 2, if you went 2-1, you qualified to go to Saturday. But I didn't, so that meant Evan and I got to chill, which turned into not chilling because my celebrity caught up with me.
This was the most surreal moment of the whole convention, I think, for both of us.
Yeah, we're sitting there playing the deck building game, figuring out what we wanted to do, and then a couple guys came over because they recognized me from the Imperial Assault videos we made on our YouTube channel, and they were doing the Imperial Assault Continuity Project tournament, and they had 5 players, and they were hoping for 6, and so they invited me to join to have an even numbers to make the tournament structure better. And I was like,
Yeah,
I got nothing else to do.
But you're neglecting the way it actually shook out. You and I sat down, we're playing the game, and you said, "Oh, hey, I think I know those. I recognize those guys from Imperial Assault. Oh, hey, look at them over there."
I mean, they
then,
had stacks of Imperial Assault boxes, which is why I said, "Hey, look, Imperial Assault."
Yes, but then within like 3 minutes of you saying, "Oh, hey, look at those guys with their Imperial Assault," they came over and said, "Are you Joe of the Jodo cast with the videos?"
Well,
to be fair,
it's not like, especially because my face is in almost, well, it's in a few of those older videos, but
it's in all the videos. Stop it.
Well, a lot of the older ones, they didn't have face cam.
All right.
One of the guys, shout out to Joey. I think he lives in Arizona, and we had played in person a number of times back in the day at like Phoenix tournaments.
I understand what that's like though. Every time I go to the grocery store, when I get this one cashier, every time I go through her line, she says, "Hey, you work at Robert's Plumbing, don't you?" But I have to tell her, "No, that's not me, lady."
Okay.
What? Yeah, Leo
Yeah,
of
that's
Robert's
the same
Plumbing.
thing.
Yeah,
But I was who they thought I was. They
that's
said,
true.
"You're the guy who made the best videos that I watch over and
Yeah.
over again."
And then you said, okay, let's play this game of deck builder really quick. And we went really, really fast. And it was actually pretty cool to do it that way. And then I said, oh, guess what? I win. Bye.
I mean, what was it like to like go back to Imperial Assault? I don't think I would remember the rules well enough. I mean, you've played recently.
I mean, I remembered like 90% of them and just had to ask for clarification on ones where I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's like this, but let's just double check. It was very fun. It was very nostalgic. It was very charming because it's just such a different vibe of a game. The first time like anybody in one of my games rolled the dodge, it was very fun. And it was like, yep, that's that. That's how it is.
It happens.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it was the continuity project stuff, so there was a lot of things that I was entirely unfamiliar with, like custom units and cards and updates to older ones. So it was a lot of like, remind me what that does or how this is working, which was a little whatever. Because some of them like seemed like maybe they were overtuned. Some of them were very cool. Like there was a Cad Bane and a Bib Fortuna, a lot of very neat, cool things. But there's a lot of like stuff to learn. All of my games were very close, but I lost all of them. But I think I like put up a decent fight at least on all of them.
Well, you were there all day, so they didn't kick
Yeah,
you
it
out
was
for
it
being
was
a
a six.
scrub.
It was a 6-player round robin, so it was I think 4 or 5. It was 5
Oh gosh.
games,
Yeah.
but like 5 games that were I don't know 65 minutes each. This is a nice way to spend a Saturday.
And I'd wager you didn't feel nearly as emotionally and physically and spiritually drained as you did the previous day.
Yeah, definitely a lot more chill to play Imperial Assault all day than Legion. But also because I was just like, well, I'm just here to help these guys out and have fun and see how it goes. And it was fun. The games were fun. Everyone was very nice. Everyone was happy that I was there, and I was excited to see them there, still caring so much about the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you even gave me your winnings.
I did give you my winnings, which were just a couple blisters that I had, but Evan didn't.
So I think the lesson we've learned is that we need to start making more Imperial Assault content since that's where Joe's made the biggest splash.
There was one person who was like, "Oh, you make the 2-minute unit videos? I love those."
That's
Nice.
true. Someone
We did
say
get
that.
one 2-minute unit fanboy. I mean, I always want to make more Imperial Assault stuff. It's just I also want to make all sorts of other stuff, and I only have so much time. And I've played a lot of Imperial Assault, and I haven't played a lot of other things.
So if you are in the Tucson area and would like to be Joe's unpaid intern, join us on our Discord. And
Yeah,
If you want to be paid in exposure,
yeah, we'll play Imperial Assault, record it. You do all the editing. Make sure you match our style, because I still get some comments on YouTube of people who want more Imperial Assault stuff. And Dan and I made an Imperial Assault video. I think it was last fall, or maybe it was 2 falls ago, and it was fun to do that again and make a video of it. And I want to do more. It's just I also want to play X-Wing and Legion and all these dumb bullshit games that I make Chris and Dan play with me.
Shatterpoint soon.
Shatterpoint, yeah. I want to do another Rebellion video.
Outer Rim. Yeah.
Join our Patreon and then say, hey, I want Imperial Assault. I'm just a patron. And I go, well, you're a patron. I got to listen to you a bit more. Maybe you'll be more motivated to.
Yeah.
Because I will say, this might, I don't want to offend anybody. All of the continuity project stuff didn't like blow my mind and make me go, oh my gosh, look at all this cool Imperial Assault content I've been missing. I still would be happy to play vanilla, and that might sound weird to the people who still play the game because, there's, more and more content coming out, fan-made stuff, which is cool. And I don't know why. There's just something about it when it's like a fan-made thing where it's just like, well, it's not real. What am I doing playing this?
Yeah.
I don't think that's that weird. I mean, there's the player committee for like the Star Wars CCG. They're putting out new cards all the time. I never touch those cards when I do play, and I'm on a Discord full of people who still only play with the original cards. In fact, a lot of them won't even. They're a lot of them are extra purists. They won't even touch Episode 1 cards either.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's there's obviously cards that were left unbalanced and things that could have used fixing and tuning and characters that we wish we would have had. But also, I haven't played every combination of the existing things. So it's not like, I desperately need Bib Fortuna in my life or whatever. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think I might try and, if we get it on the table again, sprinkle in a few little things, not go too crazy with it.
And like you said, some of the updates they have, some of like the balancing and stuff is definitely focused on like tournament, like competitive tournament type stuff that won't probably matter in like a casual one-off game, right?
Because I'm obviously that tournament I played in at Adepticon is going to be the most competitive I ever get at Imperial Assault ever again, and it was fun. And I mean, I played my best, and but it wasn't like I wasn't like stressing about my performance. I don't need to. Imperial Assault is just like a fun, like one of my favorite games and fun thing to put on the table, and it's okay with me if it's not the most perfectly balanced thing.
Yeah.
Balance is an illusion in tabletop gaming.
Well, I'll tell you what, the HK assassin droids in the continuity project, I think, were a little bit overcooked. They were too good.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else felt very because everything they were doing, I'm like, this all sounds familiar, but why are they so good? And then I looked at the original card, I'm like, oh, actually no, they're way good now. Everything else, like Cad Bane felt pretty cool. He seemed maybe too powerful as well, but like Bib Fortuna felt like actually a really good, solid support piece for mercenary armies. The Purge Troopers were pretty cool, very cool design ideas with because in Fallen Order, the Purge Troopers have like the Electro Staff, the Electro Batons, and like the Electro Hammer, and they made it so basically when you put it into play, you choose which of those three like weapon profiles they get. It was cool. Yeah, it was really. I was very happy to play Imperial Assault again, and it was just really, really nice time. That game is always going to have a special place in my Star Wars gaming heart.
That takes me back though, thinking about that brief window when HK droids were new and overpowered before Weakways came out.
And I was very happy to take your Dengar and General Soren. And they're already painted.
I mean, I haven't even played every campaign yet. I think there's 2 or 3 boxes that we haven't gone through. And I'm always like, oh, we should just play, make a campaign video, but
yeah, get General Kraken.
So, Evan,
yes,
while Joe was winning tournaments, becoming the new world champion of these 2 different games, what were you spending the whole weekend doing? Did you have like panels and stuff you had kind of signed up for, or what were you spending your time on?
So let's see. Besides making sure that Joe had everything he needed,
he was stocking celebrity painters.
I was kind of a little bit, because I recognized, and this is something that I wanted to mention. It's a small convention, but it's very dense. And I mentioned earlier about the energy here. And
Intellectually dense. No.
yes, and physically. But there are so many people from the community that you will see just in the hallway. It doesn't have to be like, I got this ticket to go see what's his face and be part of his $100 an hour painting class.
Mm,
Like, no, you'll just see like Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions. Just he's right there. You'll see
nice.
Ash from Gorilla Gaming Minion. Yeah, GMG reviews, just sitting over there in the corner, finding the quietest spot he can find to interview people. And um, this year, Dave from Mini Wargaming had his booth with his Veil, not Veil Forged. Is it Veil Forged miniatures, which are his own designed chaos with a small c Space Marines miniatures. So he was there, and lots of other folks that you've seen. I saw um, one of the former GW painters she has her own Twitch stream now where she paints, and other folks. I got to Thursday on the show floor. I saw the head designer of Warhammer 40K, and he was just by
Wow.
himself, just walking around. And I didn't take up too much of his time, but I did say,
You could have killed him and no one would have
I
known.
I mean, aside from being right in front of everyone, you're absolutely correct.
Your first thought.
Yeah. Like, excuse me, Stu Black, designer of 40K, stab. No, that's not how it went. But I just got to say,
you gotta
hey,
get like one of those like those pens with the like blade, like the big fat needle pops out of it, like the alien like bounty hunters in X-Files had.
I was thinking like a
good
KGB
idea.
like poison pen to
Yeah.
I mean,
to kill him.
Like
you
a
guys are all in
hunter-seeker.
you guys are thinking too I don't know, pre-internet.
We're thinking to 1984.
We're YouTubers. We
Oh
are
no.
the people who incite the violence.
Oh.
We are not the ones who carry
our
it out. We
hands
wash
clean.
our hand. Right. We go, I didn't suggest that at all. Even though, last episode we go, hey, you should slap the guy who designed this T-Rex mini.
Is this now when we start endorsing nuking the Great Lakes?
Yes.
What in the hell?
Just it's a thing, a podcast that me and Joe listen to. Does.
Okay, is it a North Dakota thing?
No,
Okay.
he just decided that he hates Lake Superior for killing all the brave sailors of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So
Oh my gosh.
he wants to nuke the Great Lakes in revenge.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What is interesting to me,
Yes, go on.
very sidebar, is how stupid people are. I knew people were stupid, but that bit on that podcast replaced the bit of suggesting that HelloFresh has a private island where you hunt children for sport.
He had to stop doing that one because people believed him.
People
they
thought
didn't
it
get
was
the joke.
Right, and I think that's incredible.
Anyways, I got to.
That's what I'm saying is if we get others to do our bidding, that's what we do.
So the point we're trying to get is if we jokingly incite or say that people should do violence to other people, it's just a joke. Don't actually
just a
go.
joke, allegedly. We've got top lawyers watching our backs.
Top lawyers. Top men.
Rules lawyers.
And no, not just them. But as I've learned from listening to True Crime Obsessed, always have fine print, even if you're a mid '90s Pepsi commercial, telling people that you can spend your Pepsi points on a Harrier jet. Make sure you have fine print. That's what I learned this past week. But yes, I got to tell Stu Black, the head designer of Warhammer 40K, hello, congratulations on the announcement of the new edition. Sounds fantastic.
Is that
And
what
I
he
had,
called his child?
yes.
The
Well, I
new
think
edition.
he had like 4 kids. I saw him and presumably his wife with 4 kids trying to get to the hotel, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they flew from England with 4 kids?
Ugh.
Wow. What a trooper." Good on that mom, because she's going to be probably taking care of those kids for the remainder of the week. But yeah, he was there, and the whole Mantic crew flew in from England, except for their head designer, because it was his daughter's 21st birthday. This is no great mystery. He said it on another podcast, but yeah, it's fantastic to see all these people. And like I said, Uncle Adam, he's from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So one of these days I'll say, hello, fellow Oshkosh, Wisconsin person. That's where I was born. And,
Nice. And
you
that's what
know,
you've built your whole identity around.
yes, as everyone knows, as everyone clearly knows, I only wear Oshkosh Bagosh.
You know,
It doesn't. It's
I,
not. I mean, Evan, it's not a good look. You got to stop wearing baby clothes.
They used to
When
make
did-
adult clothes. Thank you very much.
when did you come around on him, Evan?
Oh, and Uncle Adam? I think
Yeah,
yes, I used
because
to.
every time I would post one of his videos in their Discord, it would be met by excessive grumbling from Evan, and now Evan's been posting videos from
Yes, I
him
have.
all the time lately.
I'm not sure what it was that turned me around. I think it was maybe just more exposure to his style and his takes on things, because what originally I knew him from was designing an app that I had my own designs on for a long while. And to find out that he was almost exactly 10 years older than me from the same town that I was born in, and
He's
just
living your
like,
life.
it's like, you're stealing everything from me. So it was just this sort of like, deep down animosity of like what my life would have looked like. But as I watched more of his material, I was like, okay, this dude has a very good handle on paying too much for miniatures sucks. Here's like a good game for you to play. If he, because he only plays pretty much skirmish games, because he's too old to be buying 2,000 points every single
Another
time.
new army. Yeah.
Yes, and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so just getting to know his point of view and understand, and he's also too old for, I say he's too old, he's 10 years older than me, but he doesn't have time in the day to be spending an entire day edge highlighting one little piece of a centerpiece model that will never see the light of day. He wants to get his models painted and get them out there and play a game that doesn't take 5 hours. And I appreciate that. And I also came around on Miniac as well, once I found out he was in the
A
cities.
Minnesota boy.
Yeah.
I've told you that before.
Even though he's shit talking Age of Sigmar, I'll give him a pass.
Yeah, I think I would have only like recognized I would like that Dave guy. I guess that, you know what, I just know that his channel is called Tabletop Minions. I've never known what his name actually is. Adam, is that what you said his name is?
Well, it's like his handle, Uncle Atom, like up and atom, like that, ATOM.
Yeah, and then
Is that-
Miniac and Ninjan.
Yeah. So I definitely
I'm pretty
saw
sure
Ninja.
I'm pretty sure Miniac and Ninjan, yeah, they were both there doing some kind of painting class thing, I think.
Yeah, I think you're correct. And Sam Lentz, who is a frequent collaborator of Uncle Adam, he does a lot of non-metallic metal classes. There's a lot of classes on a lot of things that I have not tried yet, or I don't necessarily have the gumption to try yet, like non-metallic metal, like object source lighting. And there's lots of classes that one of these years I will actually be on top of and take those classes and get hands-on help from these experts with. Because a friend of mine from my Warhammer Discord, he did take several classes from these various folks, and getting not just getting help from them, but being told like, man, that's looking really good from someone that you watch on the regular. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But as for what I actually did, because I didn't do any of those classes, I just looked at people and said, "Oh, hey, look, it's that guy. It's that one guy."
Well,
And then
yeah,
I
I'd
turned,
be really nervous to actually go and talk to any of them because I'd be like, what am I gonna say to this person?
yeah, except for hello. I'm not to take up your time, but nice job. Goodbye.
I
That's
was
usually what I say to people is like,
telling
hello,
Evan
I like
to,
you. Bye.
I figured their version of an autograph, you'd go up to and be like, "Can you base coat my mini for me?"
There you go. Or just get like, oh, we had joked about what if miniature painters were doing like face painting for people.
Yeah.
You could just get a little a slice of paint across your face.
Or just like a butterfly on your cheek.
Yeah, a death metal butterfly. But I spent a lot of time on the show floor looking at everything, talking with the people from Game Envy about their collapsible cup that is on or was on Kickstarter, because I bought one there last year, and I'm like, okay, so what's the difference? What's the deal here? And they're like, well, we redesigned it. We have a new distributor, um, a new production company, and so then that's how they redesigned their whole line of their cup, their the little cleaning disc.
Scrubby.
Yeah, the little scrubby
Yeah.
guy in the bottom. They redesigned that because before it was suction cups and that didn't work. So they just put weights in this one so it stays there. And they redesigned a few of the other things that they're making, and I took the collapsible cup with me. It's terrific for portability. And so I talked with them. I talked with the Artist Opus guys about a bunch of their products. I didn't buy anything from them, but the one thing I was tempted to get, I mentioned on Discord, was an MDF palette, like just a placemat that you prime it with whatever project you're working on, whatever your main prime is going to be. You prime this mat, this MDF placemat, and then when you're doing your dry brushing, you can brush it on this primed piece of MDF, and
Is
the
it like
color
textured or what?
it's not textured, but the way that it absorbs is different than, like, say, a paper towel. And it actually shows you the color, how it's going to turn out, as opposed to wiping your brush on
You
a paper
you
towel.
know what I do? I just prime my palette,
That's what
and
we're talking about.
no, like my actual palette that I paint on.
But this is a fancy one that you can spend money on.
Yeah.
Leo's talking about the roof of his mouth.
Yes.
Oh.
No, like my actual paint palette. I'll once it gets a lot all covered in color, I'll just prime over it. And
That's okay, but all I'm picturing now is either your wet palette, which I know is not the case, or what?
like my palette that I put my paints in.
Plastic Walmart palette?
Yeah,
But how do you dry brush on that?
because it's got so much paint built up on it that the whole thing is textured now. So
Okay. That's fair.
yeah, I mean you could do that. I mean you could also just put some tinfoil over top of something, prime that. Same thing.
Over the top of what?
Like like a piece of wood, wrap it in tinfoil, wrap literally anything in some tinfoil to give it some texture, and then prime it.
Okay, well then you should sell that.
Why? Why would I sell that?
You just need-
Anybody can
because you
just
can
do
sell
Remember
it
that.
that
for
guy who
trademark.
became there's
Kickstart it.
that guy who became like super famous and rich because all he did was like point out how stupid everybody's like life hack videos on TikTok were or whatever. You've probably seen him where somebody like spends like 5 minutes doing this cool thing, and then he just like shrugs and points at the most simple way to solve that problem without having to spend money.
Yeah.
That's. I feel like Leo, you could just do that with every like painting project. Because Evan's always talking about these cool like painting things, and then you're always just like, but you could just do this, and it's like, yeah.
Yes, I'm always talking about cool painting things like changing your water when it's got metal flecks in it.
You're talking about like gourmet charcuterie boards to rub your brush on and whatever.
Yes, but my point is that Leo is the one that says, "No, I don't change my paint water." Like,
I change my
alright.
paint water at least once a month.
When it evaporates too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do that. You should be changing it more often.
I don't know that I believe that you paint even once a month, Leo.
See, that's how he gets away with it once a month, because he paints once a month.
I will
That's it.
say, if I'm painting white, I do switch out for, or like, yellow.
What the
some
fuck?
very light color like that, I will
You're
switch
killing
out
me.
and get some fresh water then. But otherwise, no. You just let her go until I fill my cup up, and then you use it until all the water's evaporated.
Yeah, the only reason I don't do that is because my desk is too messy and I'm always worried I'll spill it by accident. So I empty it after each session. But it's only because I'm worried about spilling it or like a cat knocking it over when I'm not looking.
Yeah, my
See,
cats will
all
drink
good
it
reasons.
if I leave it out.
All good reasons. And that's
But
why
yeah, sometimes I will sit down to paint like some snow troopers or something, and I go to dip my brush in my water, and I look at it, and I'm all like, yeah, okay, I better clean this up before I try painting white.
Oh my gosh. You're killing me. I think you do this on purpose now.
I mean,
Would you put it past him? No, you wouldn't. That's what you mean. But
I'm typically more on the Leo end of the spectrum when it comes to painting habits. I think, and we talked about my brushes at Adepticon because we did have some time where we got to sit down and paint together,
I
which
made
was
him.
actually
I made him
very
sit
nice.
down and like, look, we're gonna have some chill time. We're gonna be in the Zen zone.
Yeah, it was pretty. Because I was like, well, I can paint at home. Why would I travel across the country and paint? But it turned out to be actually quite nice because there's a bunch of lights provided. It was fun being in a space where there was probably, I don't know, like 30 other people just doing the same thing. And there was a space that had they just, the paint racks you'd see at your store. There was a bunch of those for like every brand, and it was just help yourself and then put it back when you're done or whatever, which was very cool to have access to basically any paint you could want.
Wow.
And we managed to get 2 seats next to each other with our hands full of what was it, chicken tenders and onion rings, and just got some real estate, got some water for our paints, and I broke out the ever valuable paper towels that nobody else thought to pack, and we just sat there for a while and zenned out and had good time.
So what happens with Joe's brushes? Or
I just don't clean them much because I just let them go to shit. And then I get new ones. Like I buy like a 50-pack on Amazon from some shitty Chinese company, and then I use them until it gets too crappy. I throw it out and I grab a new one from the bag. I have like a couple like Army Painter and whatever company. I have a couple nice ones that I bust out when I really care.
When Evan's around.
I have like a little one, like cheap ones that I just kind of burn through because I gave up on trying to like keep them clean and maintain them because I could never get the brush cleaner to work for me and stuff. So I was like, I'm not gonna keep buying expensive brushes that fall apart on me. I'm just gonna get cheap ones that fall apart on me.
And then
Yeah,
out.
I don't really get what the brush cleaner is supposed to accomplish either. Like, it doesn't seem to do anything to me.
Aha, but I was able to show Joe because I brought my whole portable painting kit with me that included my soap, and I had actually turned it from a solid like bar inside that cup to more of a frothy uh not goo, but more of a goo, an ooze, if you will.
Hmm.
And that
It
has made it much
definitely
better.
made me reconsider. I'm like, oh, maybe I could try it again. But then it's like it takes time to maintain your brushes. It does not take time to throw it away and grab a new one.
I can't argue with that, but I am weird in that I enjoy cleaning my brushes and having the satisfaction of seeing them come back to life.
It is satisfying when you have restored some junk and all of a sudden it's nice again.
But yeah, after Joe's day of Legion and then his day of Imperial Assault, we were able to zen out. Oh, and of course, we did talk about Star Wars trivia
Mm-hmm.
already, so we won't regurgitate that again. But that was fun, and the like lounge area at the Renaissance is very nice. It accommodates hundreds of nerds very well.
You said there was like a live band too, right?
There was like a guy playing too loudly when we were trying to talk and do trivia. Like eventually, some of the trivia people yelled at him to be quiet because we couldn't hear the trivia announcer.
Yes,
Great.
but they do such a great job, and Miniac actually did a very good video where he talked with the for lack of a better title, I'll just call him the head guy of Adepticon, and sort of goes over the history and how they deal with the venues, and they do an
Adept
exceptionally good
Conrad
job.
is his full name.
Yes, Adepticon is just short for his full name.
Adept Conrad.
Yes. But there is just so much there if you're a miniature player or just a painter. I shouldn't say just a painter because there's so many aspects to this. Just as there's a ton of aspects to RPGs. There's multiple aspects to this. I'd say even more than with RPGs. And there's so many dimensions to enjoy at Adepticon. And I think it is easy to say that if miniatures is your hobby, this is the one you want to go to. If miniatures overall, the umbrella of miniatures is not necessarily your hobby, if a particular genre like Star Wars is more your jam, you might get more out of other shows like Celebration, which happens once every 2 years or whatever it is these days, or even Gen
Yeah.
Con, where you have all types of games.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think, like, would I do this again, or would I? Because now I've been to Gen Con, albeit my Gen Con experience was a little bit not the norm, but still. I would go to Gen Con over Adepticon if I wasn't playing in an event. Although, we like to daydream and say, oh, what if we had like a JodoCast booth? That would be more suited to Adepticon, probably, just because it's got less traffic and people maybe more interested in
Mm-hmm.
things. But I think Gen Con is more my thing, just from what I've got out of both of them. It is really fun to be around everybody playing X-Wing and Legion and Armada, but that also happens at Gen Con. And the exhibitor hall at Gen Con is full of a lot more things that are a little bit more interesting because it's, there's interesting little board games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I wasn't in an event, if I wasn't going to Worlds and I had the budget and time to pick one, I would pick Gen Con. But I wouldn't I don't regret Adepticon or whatever. It was very fun and very cool, and I would go back if the circumstances were right. Like, oh, maybe all of you guys are just going to Adepticon. Well, then I would, go to Adepticon.
Oh, and also, Joe, I talked about the people that I saw who are, miniature celebrities, but you saw other folks too that were like, oh, hey, it's Joe, and not just the Imperial Assault folks. Who else did we meet?
I mean, like I said, some guy was like, "Hey, I like 2 Minute Unit."
And El Fire Spray.
Oh yeah, that was we
Yeah.
met El Firespray. That was nice. She remembered me from Gen Con.
Nice.
Yeah, you had people from that Gen Con that were like, oh, hey, it's Joe. Good to see you. Come here. We'll get you some special access.
It was just a really good time. It's just I try to think of would I if I had to pick between Gen Con, Adepticon, and Star Wars Celebration, what would I pick? And I at the moment I feel like I would put Gen Con at the top there, even over Celebration right now. But maybe
They're all
that'll
kind of different subsets, you know.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But it seems like
Yeah.
Gen Con kind of has the most different stuff, which I think would be important for like a convention, like keep yourself busy type of.
right.
Yeah.
And just more weird games too to find.
Okay, I have one last big question. The most important question. Food.
Oh, boy.
What did you guys eat? Did they have food at the convention, or was it always like offsite, going to get food?
Interestingly, there was food there. It was not anything special, but it wasn't terrible.
No.
And weirdly enough, there was never really much of a line at the food place. There was never a line in the bathrooms or at the food, which was surprising and welcome. The convention food was, whatever, just
It was
pizza,
fine.
hot
like you
dogs,
said. Yeah.
wraps.
Hey, those chicken tendies, they were good.
And did you guys go to any cool, hip restaurants with great deep dish pizza or something?
We went to some, what was it called, Koba?
Kuma,
Is
like the
Kuma?
bear from Tekken. Yes, like the bear
Is
from
that
Tekken.
the metal burgers?
Yep,
Yeah.
it is.
That would be cool.
I think it's great. I think it's right up Leo's alley, honestly.
Why? Well,
Because it's metal themed, and they have gigantic, crazy ass burgers.
that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And yes, I did get a couple of dice because I ordered their burger with Mountain Dew marinated chicken tendies with
Gosh.
Code Zero sauce and fries and Doritos on the burger. And the Doritos, I will say,
Why do you say it like that?
because that's from a Jim Gaffigan bit.
Okay.
You got to get those extreme. You're not having the extreme Doritos. Oh, look at this loser. He can't handle the extreme. Yeah, I thought the Doritos were the weakest part of their Adepticon burger, which was a burger with literally chicken tenders and Doritos on it because gamers. And it was good. Like, it worked. I just thought that the Doritos they had knocked it down a notch because the flavors for me didn't jive quite as well, but oh well. What are you gonna do? Go get some more is what I'm gonna do. They have gigantic crazy ass burgers that you're like, how am I supposed to eat that?
What about you, Joe? What was the best thing you ate?
Jersey Mike's. No, is Joe dead?
It's suspense.
Oh, sorry. I was muted because I was blowing my nose.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason.
No, I said Jersey Mike's. I guess Egg Harbor was pretty delightful too, but
That's all
which-
I wanted to hear.
Egg Harbor didn't. There was no harbor. There's nothing nautical about it, so minus points for that.
I mean, but it's a Midwest harbor. What do you want?
It was just breakfast food stuff.
Yeah.
But Jersey Mike's, because that's something I can take home with me. That's something I can go, oh hey, I got those here.
So we went to Jersey Mike's. What was it, Thursday?
I don't know.
Anyways, it was either Wednesday night or Thursday night, but they gave both of us a 2-for-1 coupon. So we went back 2 more nights and each got 2-for-1. And it was a really good deal, and they were really good.
It was just, I mean, it also just when I eat things, I don't know if it's gonna like ruin me or not. And a classic, simple, turkey sub is always a safe option in a world of
Dorito
never
burgers.
Right. So that it was great, and it was really good.
Yeah.
You whisper, you go, give it to me Mike's way, and then they take you
But
back.
but with no onions.
No tomatoes.
No
right?
tomatoes.
No onions.
Why would I want like a disc of water? That's what a tomato is. Like, hey, how about we just pour water on this, but in like a red disc?
Ketchup is made from tomatoes.
Ketchup is made from sugar.
And vinegar.
Also, I don't have ketchup on my subs.
Well, you're missing out.
But they also had a turkey wrap that you frequented at the convention site. It wasn't just fried
it was
fat
the
sandwich.
same like safe option thinking, but it was fine. It's nothing.
But you were
not
able
podcast worthy.
Yeah, you were able to get food that sat well with you. You didn't regret every minute.
No, there was no running to the bathroom in the middle of the Legion Worlds, which is good.
See, there you
never
go.
know.
That is a good review right there. That is a solid 3.5 star. I'm
gonna leave Adepticon a Yelp review. Yeah, didn't shit myself. Thanks.
Meanwhile, after that Dorito burger, I decided to have hot dogs and booze the entire time I was there because they had it and I wanted it.
They had booze at the convention.
Oh,
Every
yeah, they
concession
did.
stand had like a little sidebar next to it, like you'd see at like a like a wedding or whatever that's catered.
Exactly.
Just some guy sitting there with this little like porta bar, options of wine and beer and whatever else they had there the whole time.
Did they have
sun up to
themed
sundown
drinks? If I were running Adepticon, there would be different drinks for each game. You'd have like an ultramarine, I don't know.
Ooh,
pale
yeah,
ale.
like a blue curacao.
I was gonna say it's a glass of just nothing but blue curacao. Here you go.
Oh, I don't want to know what the Dark Angels are going to be then. No, they did not have any. At least not there. I'm willing to bet somebody had themed drinks.
more little tie-ins like the burger, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, some kind of red drink called Blood for the Blood God just seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
I did have Fireball. That sounds sort of RPG-y.
That's true. Well,
why would anybody put that in their body?
Hey, that was courtesy.
It was one of the Imperial Salt people was like, just so happy to be playing Imperial Salt. He wanted to share a shot with people, and then he let me keep the little Boba Fett shot glass.
Oh,
yeah.
It would have been rude not to.
I think he was secretly trying to murder his opponents by poisoning
It was a
them.
friendship fireball.
I don't remember what the other options were. There was actually a couple choices, and I opted for Fireball because I know I'm
pretty sure any of
shot.
the other options would have been better than you chose poorly.
Oh,
you
no.
drank from the wrong grail, my friend.
Oh, he didn't drink from the cup of a carpenter.
Well, when we finally do JodoCon, Leo can mix people slug slingers or whatever.
Ooh. Make a whole picture of them.
I think we should. We can an entire future episode can be us just describing JodoCon as if it were going to be
Oh man!
and what you
You know,
what you
we
can
should
expect.
we
to
should
attend.
just do a post JodoCon episode where we pretend that JodoCon actually happened, and
oh man!
I actually really like that idea. Good improv practice.
Oh man! What kind of burgers are they going to make me eat this time?
Probably some kind of like noodle themed burger.
A noodle burger? That sounds great. Honestly, would not complain about a noodle burger.
it's just a puck of ramen noodles between two buns.
Not even
like
like
that.
a deep fried puck of ramen noodles. That sounds more.
I was thinking
Guarantee-
maybe like a giant macaroni, and that's the bun, and the burger is inside the the noodle.
I guarantee you there are restaurants that sell all of those burgers
Oh,
somewhere in the world.
Probably in like San
I'm with you,
Francisco and New
yes.
York and stuff. Charge you like $30 for it.
Well, I mean, isn't that sort of already?
Sickies does some of those type of things in Fargo.
I do like their twin cam. That's a good burger. It's two grilled cheese sandwiches with each grilled cheese sandwich is your top and bottom bun, and then your burger is all built in between the two grilled cheese sandwiches.
God.
That
Tastes really good.
That sounds more unreasonable than the waffle grilled cheese in the cities. What did you have that morning? The last time I visited you in the cities, that restaurant.
I don't know.
He eats lots of stuff. Can't remember everything.
We do eat a lot of things.
I just remember the banh mi place.
Okay, that's fair. That's unforgettable. And then so that was Saturday. So Sunday then was sleep in a little bit, grab some Starbucks on the way out, and then get our butts over to the convention center to see what we didn't even see the tail end of the Worthy. We just saw the dude walking out with his dang old Odin trophy, which was wild to see.
Nice.
And
it was interesting that because all of the Crisis Protocol painting competition was very cool. They had a big display case where all the submissions were sitting in there that everyone could look, and the trophy was this huge, like probably at least a foot tall Odin hunk of plastic sculpture, so that basically a trophy that the winner could paint, which is very cool. And
that would be intimidating, though.
Right.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
very big. And then Legion had a painting competition, but it was just sort of I don't know if it was
Legion did?
impromptu. It did, but it was in the middle of the tournament on Friday.
Oh,
basically
your tournament.
between rounds 1 and 2, you could go put your submissions on the table and put a little sticky note next to it with your name, and then there was single mini, single vehicle, and full army were the 3 categories. And so there was a competition, and the prizes were they were good prizes, but they weren't like custom, like we love this thing prizes like the Odin thing. They weren't on display really. They were just kind of on a table near the tournament HQ that people could walk by and look at for that 2 hours between rounds or whatever it was. So it was like, okay, so there is a Legion painting competition, but it's not like this whole thing like
right.
Crisis Protocol got. I think the winner of like the whole army got like a full ass like air compressor and airbrush set and like a full paint set and all this like really expensive stuff. That also reminded me of a little off topic. At the end of um, the tournament, was it at it was on the end of day one, so not the end of the whole tournament, but the end of day one when they're giving out prizes. They had a prize for the player who did the absolute worst out of
Oh, that
everybody,
was the best. Yeah.
and it was genuinely very funny and self-aware, but also sort of weird how self-aware it was, because basically what they did was the person who did the worst, they gave him a full box of Blizzard Force and a Dark Trooper expansion. I think there might have been one other thing in there, but basically here's the the busted
Winning
OP
list.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, try this next time.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's good prizes. It's expensive,
Yeah.
but
And then I said, well, shit, that could have been me, because I would have definitely done the worst.
Like, yes, lose on purpose just to get a free army.
Oh, it wouldn't be on purpose. It would just be because I suck. But yeah, then we got great seats for the Adept or the AMG in-flight report, because that's what it felt like, and no complaints with that. Like it felt like being at an in-flight from 2015. It was terrific.
you did too have a complaint,
What
and
was my
I
complaint?
didn't realize I had a complaint until you had it, and then I said, you know what, that's a good complaint, and I share it. Basically, because they just had a PowerPoint that they were flipping through. What about after the fact?
Oh,
You make those slides
yes.
available so we can actually have high res images of these things rather than
Yeah.
the pictures people took of them, of the projector screen, which never looks that great.
Yeah.
Yes, you okay. Yes, you're 100% correct. That is an industry complaint, because apparently nobody in the tabletop industry knows how to communicate with their
Funko does,
PR people.
apparently.
Yeah, apparently Funko
Yeah,
does.
they got the press kit for their
Right.
Dublin
And
new game.
and you Google that game, there's 10 different sites like comicbook.com and Walt Disney World News and all these things that basically have the same article because they were all provided with the same stuff beforehand when they made their announcement. Fantasy Flight used to sometimes do things like that. I remember they did give us like a advance press packet for some product at one point. I don't remember what it
Yeah,
Yeah,
was.
I
we
remember
got
when we went
flash
to
drives.
to the in-flight report. We got flash drives with high-res images of everything they showed
Hmm.
at that in-flight report.
Would have been nice. No, there was one other thing. I think that they had like they put out uh,
From
I don't
FFG.
remember. Yeah, had a product that was about to come out, and they gave us like a
The assets for images.
yeah.
Well, heck, I got a flash drive from WotC back in 2012 with image assets. And it's just like, why doesn't everybody do this? And BioWare shared their Dropbox with us. It's like, okay, any day now, everybody else. But that's just me being a spoiled brat, I guess.
But overall, it was a really good panel. Way more stuff announced than I was expecting. And some pretty cool stuff.
Oh my gosh, way more than we were expecting. At least I don't know about. I mean, Joe, I won't speak for you, but I was kind of blown away.
If you zoom out, we already really talked about all this, but I guess I
Yeah.
was a little overwhelmed by how much news there was for Shatterpoint.
Yeah.
The rest of it felt pretty normal-ish.
Yeah, there was like a good amount of Legion stuff, a tiny crumb of Armada, which is probably, still more than we expected.
Hey, it's
And
more than
then,
LCG gets.
yeah, I do think the X-Wing stuff was not that interesting to me personally. Again, we kind of already went over that. It's a lot of like re-release type stuff, and I don't know, but fair amount of Legion stuff, a lot of Shatterpoint stuff, which is cool. They got a
Yeah,
lot lined up.
which is also good to know that it's not just here's one box. What else? Well, maybe some other stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. And that's what you need to keep a game like that going.
Oh, and then we got more Jersey Mikes, and then I drove Joe to the downtown to the airport again, and then he
Nice.
flew away.
Sounds like a very eventful, fulfilling, nourishing,
Oh yeah, that was
cherishable weekend.
the child plane. The flight was delayed about an hour because there was lightning, which
yeah.
not dangerous to the plane, but dangerous to the people who are outside the plane at the airport. So can't work. And so I swear 50% of the passengers on that plane were children. And I was sitting in front of two kids that were just basically doing color commentary on everything happening outside the plane while we were waiting. Like, oh, there's a rain. It's just,
Was driving better than flying, Evan? You drove, right?
Yes, I drove. And aside from having to get onto I-90 in Chicago because of Midway, everything was great. I haven't
Yeah.
had I haven't had this is very much a as we call it in Indiana, the region. It's like the part of Indiana that is actually Illinois, but it's within the Indiana border. Driving through the region is not fun. The Indiana tollway sucks. It's so much worse than the Illinois tollway. Like I-90 is garbage, but that was the only bad part about the entire trip.
Driving definitely sounds preferable to me if you lived close enough, which most people don't.
And that's why I have a vehicle that can accommodate multiple people and multiple bags and all
Nice.
my crap, because I brought a lot of crap with me. But it was a very good time. I would 10 out of 10 recommend this if you are a specifically miniatures gaming or painting person.
Yeah, I think that about wraps up the episode. We've talked for quite a while already. Maybe one last really quick highlight from both of you. What's one super cool thing that stands out from this convention to you? Cool moment,
Ooh.
cool product, cool person you met. I don't know.
that lunar game. I keep thinking about it. The only reason I
Nice.
haven't bought it is
Yeah.
because I don't know who I'd play with. / I've got too many minis I'm trying to work on right now.
I don't think it was even a product for me, uh, or a specific event, but I feel like it would be like if you were going to, which I didn't, but if you're going to like say hi to someone, even just a rando who's sitting next to you at the painting table, you strike up a conversation with them, probably wind up staying in contact. This is the place you're going to do it. If you have a great game against someone, and stay in contact, this is the place you're going to do it.
Yeah, that would be cool to kind of make those contacts that you kind of keep bumping into year after year. I remember a little bit of that at Worlds in Roseville,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that would be cool.
Yeah, it's small, but the energy, like everyone's there to just share. Everyone wants to show you what they've got. You want to see what they've got, and it's a good feeling. Even if you're not into all of the Warham machine Kings of Clash of Arena
Yeah,
Slam.
I mean, I was certainly never not busy.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Oh yeah. Oh, one other quick thing. Did you guys do any cool demos? Obviously you did the Shatterpoint demo, but did you end up trying any other random games?
I think I'd mentioned it. We did play Arena Rex, that gladiator game. That was I really liked that one. And then I think Evan, you said you played the Yas
Yeah,
game.
Yazfir.
Yes, Queen.
Yes, exactly. Yazkveen. Yeah, I got the demo of that and I bought it on the spot.
Nice.
It was just the one book, so like, yep, cool. I have cards at home and miniatures. Good to go.
Yeah.
And I didn't demo Lunar, but I did sit there and let the guy who made it like talk at me for 15 minutes, which was interesting and fun.
Nice.
And I didn't get to demo any of the other Mantic games. They had their Armada, not like, not Star Wars. It was boats in water, but in the same universe as Kings of War. So a very different
Kings of
feel.
Water.
Kings of Water World War. And then they've got some sci-fi games as well, like, their take on not quite as grim dark future. And if they'd had a demo for Hellboy, I definitely would have tried that out. But
Oh yeah, that's Mantic too. Oh, that would have
it
been
sure
cool.
is. Oh man. Oh, I could spend an entire episode talking about all of the painting competitions because they have their own, and there were a whole bunch of Hellboys in there.
A hell
Nice.
lot of boys.
A hell lot of boys.
Oh yeah,
I guess
Golden Demon is there too. Did you guys see any cool Golden Demon stuff?
Oh, I
I
didn't
saw
look this year.
the sign.
I was too busy. Well, the crowds are always huge around Golden Demon, so I saw a few.
Yeah.
But I mean, once you've seen a few amazing paint jobs, I mean, like I looked at them all last year, and took tons of pictures last year. So
And they all look the same. I'd rather see
Yeah.
a less good paint job.
we spent a way more time on the Worthy and all of the other, like the studio painted models of Legion and Shatterpoint. We spent a lot more time looking at those, and all the fan made dioramas and extremely amazing paint jobs were fantastic. My favorite one was Star-Lord and Ronin, the two MCP minis, but set in like the crater from the very end of the first Guardians movie, and just the painstaking work to get that crater to look correct, not just correct, but well done, not just a mess. Like, they didn't really do anything. They did a lot. It looks so good because it's the dance off scene between Star-Lord and Ronin, and it was perfectly done.
Well,
I was thinking that one thing I expected to see and didn't was a presence from Come On or Seamon, Cool Mini or Not.
I kept forgetting to tell you, their tournaments were in different hotels.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they were off-site. That's why we didn't see them.
But you think they'd have a thing on the show floor because all they do is sell stuff.
Yes,
So I was like,
I agree.
I mean, this Marvel Zombies and Zombicide and United
Marvel
and all this stuff.
Zombicide, yeah.
He-Man Zombicide.
Yep. Ice and Fire tournament was held at a different hotel.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Weird.
Maybe it's too brutal. The Renaissance wouldn't allow.
It was too Dark Ages for the Renaissance. But I think they're just honestly they're running out of room already.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you watch that Miniac video, they're already running out of room.
There was space in that big room that had like the Batman minis game and the Fallout minis games and Infinity.
Modifius.
Whatever game they were playing. They bunch of like little games that maybe like only needed a couple tables each or a couple
just kick
rows.
them out. Just kick them to the curb.
No, I'm saying there was still room in that room that were like there was a lot of like empty unused tables in there. Probably not enough to accommodate those other games, but
yeah,
just make those games more exclusive. Only let 12 people in each year.
Yep, there you go. All right. We've hit Sunday, and then we both just collapsed and slept for the next week.
And then I felt fine and had a nice time, and then I got COVID later. Probably at Old Tucson or my kickboxing class or something.
They punched COVID into you.
So overall, a successful trip.
Very. I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, do you guys think you'll go again next year? It sounds like Joe's more on the fence.
I'm definitely on the fence. If all three of you go, I'll go. If I get a Worlds invite, I'll go. Otherwise, maybe. Not sure.
I'm 100%.
Nice.
I mean, maybe by this point will be the Shatterpoint podcast, and then I'll feel obligated to go.
Well, we got some competition already, so
Yeah, we do.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's all there is to say about Adepticon. We already
Yep.
talked about it a lot at this point. I think that's all. I don't know. What do we usually do in an outro? I'm
I don't know.
getting tired.
I mean, I after years of struggling with an outro, that's why I settled on. All right. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, patrons. Good night.
Now you say it, Kurt.
Yes, now you say.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Joe.
No.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, patrons. This has been the Jodo Cast. Look for us at JodoCon.